a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be my subscriber? Could you be my subscriber? So thank you so much for returning to my YouTube channel to listen to the testimonies. And today I want to share a testimony about my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother. She was the mother of my youth, and it was a lot. So a little bit about her is my grandmother was born 1913, and she was born into a huge family from down south. They would have 13 and 14 kids, and what they would do is, because they couldn't really afford to raise them, they would send them off to the aunts, to the uncles, to the cousins, to the grandparents, and whoever would have them. So my grandmother was a twin. She had a twin brother, and she was sent off separate from her brother to be raised by her grandparents, so her mother's parents. So my great grandfather was Caucasian, and my great grandmother was Native American. They got together, had my great grandmother. My great grandmother would then get with a black man, and that's why I'm all mixed with everybody and everything. But at any rate, she would grow up on a farm. I don't remember, she may have told me some stories, but I don't remember. But she did grow up separate and alone. And she would later move to Pennsylvania from down south. And she would hook up, get married, have 2 children by her late husband, Mr. Wharton. So my grandmother was born with Clara Carter. Then she went to Clara Wharton, and then she had an alias of Clara Glover, so she used all those last names. So yeah, so she would have 2 children by her ex-husband, and then she would have my aunt Clarissa by another man, and then she would have my mother Ivania Glover by another man. And so she had 3 baby daddies, and she would go to church, and then she would come home, play the lottery, get drunk, cuss, and have that type of lifestyle. So I was in the church at a very young age when she started raising me. Like I said in another testimony, I was 8 months, and she was 63. And when my aunt would pass away the same year as my mother did, and the same year as her ex-husband, the baby father of 2 of her oldest children, did, that all happened in the same year. She had a lot of trauma. My aunt, she would fall asleep not too long after my mom did, fall asleep and never wake up. My father was alerted by her 2 sons, who was 3 and 5 years old, and he would come in and he would find his sister-in-law as well in her forever sleep here on earth. So that was a lot to go through. That was a lot. My grandmother took on raising 3 of us. My aunt had 3 boys. She took the 3-year-old and the 5-year-old, raised us up like brothers and sisters, and it was traumatic. My grandmother was told by a lot of people that she should let us be, with the father. She should put us in foster care, let us be adopted. That was too much for her, but she refused. I guess she looked at it like it would be a beautiful distraction. She looked at it like it was her duty. She loved her grandchildren. She would not do that, so she raised me and my cousins together. And it was a lot. My grandmother had the expectation that I would be a void filler, and I looked like my mom to her, but she would say, "You look like your mother, but you sure don't act like her. Your mother was nice and sweet and kind and soft-spoken. You loud and mean and hateful and ornery." So I was compared to my mother like a sibling all of my life. I never felt like my grandmother accepted me. I struggled with feeling like she loved me, and she was very, very emotionally, verbally abusive towards me. I acted out a lot because I went through a lot at a young age. I was bullied. I was I was done wrong by people that I trusted. I was feeling abandoned by my father, so I didn't know how to express that, and it often looked like rebellion. It often looked like, the class clown and things like that. To where, though, in elementary, they would suggest to my grandmother that she take me to see a psychiatrist, in which she did. And that was one of the best times of my life. I still vividly remember that lady's face. She provided a safe space. I wish that it could have been ongoing, but for some reason it was discontinued. But at any rate, my grandmother would, on one end, give me everything, and then still chop me down, and I would grow up to believe that I wasn't enough, have low self-esteem, low self-worth, and just didn't feel accepted. And that's how my brain developed around all of that trauma. So I guess so it's like an enabling thing where you feel bad that somebody, doesn't have their parents, and you feel sorry for them. So you just give, and do. But it could be to their detriment. Like the time where I wanted to come back from living with my father, and I was a young teenager. I shouldn't have been allowed to come back, but she allowed me to come back home. She gave me everything, but then it still was like I wasn't good enough. So I was what they would call spoiled. But when you think of something that's spoiled, it's rotten and it's no good for anything. It doesn't smell good. It doesn't taste good. So although she would lavish me with all types of gifts, I got anything I wanted. I got name earrings. I got stereos. I was allowed to get my own phone line with my own phone number in my bedroom, like as a teenager. That was crazy, right? But she would, just give me all types of things, but then treat me harshly. Like one time, I had a guy friend over, boyfriend possibly, and was getting to know him. My grandmother came downstairs and she looked and she was like, "Why you with her? She ain't nothing but a slut. You ain't going to end up doing nothing but breaking up with her." At that time, I was a virgin. So she would just do mean things like that. Now looking back, I realized that even though my grandmother went to church every Sunday and had us in church, she was demonized. She would get drunk and invite those evil spirits in her. She didn't get any help for all the pain and trauma that she endured. She didn't, at that time in the church, the church, it was a Baptist church, she wasn't taught that she could even have a demon. And it's not demon possession, it's demon oppression. It's the demons residing in your soul, not in your spirit where the Holy Spirit lies. So like, just not understanding any of that, how can you get free? How can you get help? She didn't know. So she was raising us in that torment, in that pain. And when I was 8 years old, all of my aunt people that was in her life, they convinced her that the best thing was to send me to Scotland School for Veterans Children. My dad was in the service, so I was a child of a vet, and I could go to this school for free, and it was presented as, like the best opportunity in the world, but I didn't want to go because I already felt abandoned by my parents. I didn't want to go, and I was sent at 8 years old. 8 years old is such a small age. Here I was, feeling unwanted, feeling unloved, feeling unaccepted, and thrown into this school where they would be even more abusive. They paddled you if you didn't do your homework. They paddled you if you were in a fight, even if the fight was somebody came and just started wailing on you, which would happen to me because I was bullied. And you're just trying to protect yourself. So now you're getting paddled on top of getting beat up. They would paddle you for just all sorts of disciplinary things. That school is non-existent right now because It just wasn't. Now, that's not everybody's experience. Some people went and had a great time, but because I was a troubled child, it wasn't the best place for me. So I went, and I was supposed to be going in the 4th grade. They put me back in the 3rd grade. So I spent 3rd, 4th, 5th, and finally, after 3.5 years, my grandmother would take me out. After she saw on a parent visit, I cried out to her. She saw I couldn't sit down, and she took me in the bathroom, and she saw that they had paddled me so hard that my whole bottom was black and blue and red, and that's when she took me out. So I would come home, and I would do 6th grade in elementary, then I would go off to junior high school, and I was just utterly rebellious. Utterly rebellious. I needed therapy. I was not put in therapy, and I would have a lot of trauma. I would bring home straight F's on my report card, except for art. I had an A in art, and she would put me on punishment. I would become more rebellious. I would start stealing her credit cards, going to the stores, buying clothes off the rack because she refused to buy me anything because I was so rebellious. Started drinking, hanging out with boys. All this is 13, 14. And this is why she would send me to be with my dad, but then later bring me back. So, yeah. Throughout this time, I was told how horrible I was. I was called all kinds of names. And she just would be love, hate, love, hate, love, hate. And I resented her a lot. One day I was wishing she was dead. The next day I was praying, God, don't take her until I'm old enough to take care of myself, because who's going to take care of me? So around the time where I was supposed to be finishing high school, I was 2 years back because of all those F's that I told you about in junior high school. Yeah, they left me back a year. So now that's 2 years back. And it wasn't that I wasn't smart enough. I just didn't care. I didn't apply. I felt suicidal at the age of 12. Tried to kill myself. I just didn't care about life. I had a lot of pain. So at any rate, she, one day I was supposed to be going to Overbrook High School in the building, and I was late. She came in. I started complaining. I said, I think my cousin stole my trans pass. I can't find it. He stole my trans pass. Your trans pass is your public transportation card to get on the buses. So she's like, well, I'll get you another one. I don't know why you're going to school anyway. You still gonna be dumb. And listen, it wouldn't be a year later, I would drop out. I just dropped out. Convinced myself that school was stupid. It wasn't for me. They teaching me a whole bunch of stuff I'm not going to use in life. Yeah, I'm just going to drop out. So I dropped out of high school to go to beauty school, Wilford Beauty Academy. And she seemed to get behind that. And she also told me that once I got my license, we could fix the basement up, as a hair salon. And she would just be real sweet, real encouraging. And then, doop, demonize, just turn on me. So I grew up not feeling like I was good enough. So later in life, I found out through therapy that I had made acceptance my God. I wanted to be accepted. I longed to be accepted. I felt the need to be accepted. And if you didn't accept me, I would lie, steal, do anything to get it. And if I still couldn't get it, I would feel depressed to the point that I wanted to die. And often thought about ways to do that. So acceptance became my God because I didn't feel like I ever got it from a very young age. So yeah, that's how I grew up. That's how my grandma raised me, and it just wasn't good. When I had my son, and around that time she would get sick, she would promise me that I would be in our childhood house forever, even though she signed, because of my cousin's drug addiction, she signed the house back to herself and took it out of her grandkids' name. She promised me that I would be in that house even when she died, but it didn't work out that way. And because I would do things like leave my grandmom, not take care of my grandmom, put my son on my grandmother. My grandmother was taken to live with my aunt, her first daughter, and that will be the last time we will live together. And one day I was supposed to go see her, and I put it off for whatever reason, and I will regret that, because I think it was the following week, my uncle, my aunt's husband, would give me a phone call. I was laying in the bed, and with my ex-fiance, and I was awakened to this phone call, and he let me know that my grandmother passed away. And immediately I dropped the phone, didn't put on any shoes, ran for a block down the street, around the corner, to my girlfriend, play cousin's house, who had just lost her mother of cancer. That was her second bout. To go back, I'm sorry. My grandma had one bout with cancer. She went through all the chains and was healed. And then this was her second bout, because she used to drink a lot, smoke a lot of cigarettes, Benson Hedges cigarettes. And this would be her second bout with cancer. And that's when my aunt would take her up there. So I was high out my mind for the most part. Xanax, cough syrup, volumes, weed, alcohol, all numbing, because I was realizing that time was coming where she wasn't going to be here anymore, plus all the other life's pains, right? So when he told me that she was gone, it was just like the information that I heard about my dad. I wanted to get away from wherever this information was delivered. So I did that, and my play cousin girlfriend, shout out to you, Jen, she comforted me, consoled me, and yeah, that was it. So the thing about growing up in an abusive environment, you still love the person. If the demons aren't tormenting you inside of your soul to the point where you don't have any love, you still have a love towards your parents, no matter how bad they treat you. So everything that she ever did that I felt like was wrong or bad or whatever, all that goes away, and all the pain crashes in, and all you know is that you'll never see them on this side again. Hopefully, if you make it in and they make it in, you can see them in the new heaven and the new earth. But that's not guaranteed, because nobody knows except for God who really, really, really gonna get in. You can have a strong belief, but God only knows. So it was traumatic. And at her funeral, I wrote a poem. I will get to read this poem. I'm gonna share that with you. My Grandma Was My Life, by Lisa Poindexter, July 1996. I know everyone must go sometime, yet most people still have mothers, and I've lost both of mine. She didn't know how much I loved her, but with every day that passed, I thank God she was still with me. He did make our relationship last. But now is her time to be with him, to be free from all pain. The only reason I accept her death is because I know I see her again. Please keep her happy, Lord, as happy as she can be. And if it comes down to it, you can definitely send for me. Because this pain is like I'm being stabbed by a knife. I've lost my mom, my everything. My grandma was my life. See what I mean? I haven't read that in a long time. So, yeah. She was all I had. And good, bad, or indifferent. When it was good, it was good. When it was bad, it was bad. It could have been worse. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and act like it was the worst, you know, because there's people who have been sexually abused by their parents. There's people who have been hospitalized even unto death. Some people, you know, so it could always be worse. But at the same time, I would always dream about having what I saw on TV with the Huxtables, you know. I would always dream about, you know, having a mom that adored me. And a lot of people grow up with parents that do adore them, that will give them the best of what they have. But when she died and I grew up, what I understood is my grandmother did the best that she could with what she had. And I forgave her for everything. And I do know that I'll see you again, Grandma. Because let me tell you, before she got sick, she would get her cane. This was in her 80s. She was in her 80s. She would get her cane. She would walk from 57th and Walloosin to 58th and Girard and if you know, you know, it's a walk for an old lady. She would get on that bus and she would go to church. And I know that she dedicated her life to God before she died. Because it's something about when you get close to death. You start looking at life like, all right, what matters, what don't? God, I'm sorry. And I saw her with a repentant heart. I did. I saw her with a repentant heart. And I saw her pushing. She ain't asked nobody to take her. She was like, I'm going to get here, you know, no matter what. And, yeah. So, let this testimony be an encouragement to you that you can forgive. You should forgive. You have to forgive if you want to be forgiven. But parents are literally doing the best that they can with what they have. And that's it. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. And you be encouraged. And share your testimony.